getting started a little late. Anyway, so let me give you a reminder. This is KGUA in Wallala, 88.3 FM. Mark, Troy talking another time.
Can you hear me?
It says you're muted. I don't have you muted.
I'm not
You
muted.
don't have yourself muted. And we are live on YouTube right now. That's a good thing. But we're not seeing Mark. I mean, not hearing Mark. Oh, I know why we're not hearing Mark. Peggy's forgotten how to do radio.
Can you hear me?
Okay, what happened to my brain this weekend? It just sort of took a vacation and like, oh, radio? Oh yeah, you have to push the button on.
Hi,
There's Mark.
I'm
Mark is on. He is unzipped, unmuted, everything. Whew. All right, first of all, here's what I'm trying to do. I want to show you this thing. You may be seeing this showing up all over Facebook. It says, Power the Tower. What does that mean, Power the Tower? That's us. That's for those of you who are not familiar enough with radio, KGUA and all radio stations have to have a tower. It kind of looks like an oil well gushing too, doesn't it? Well, it's our radio waves reaching out to you just like lightning. And there you go. And we need to help power that tower to get us through the summer, through the rest of the year. As many of you know, COVID has affected, of course, everyone, and nonprofit organizations are really affected because we're asking you to share some of your hard-earned income, if you have it, or savings, if you have it, to help us keep going. And we think you know why this tower is so important and why KGUA is important, but you're going to start seeing more of these pictures on Facebook. We've seen Temperate Board, we've seen Lou and Maynard Linden, and so many other people holding these signs. Julia Lark at the Coast Community Library. And thank you, Paula Smith, for doing this for us. So this week, this Friday, actually, is the big day. If you want to save your money till then, the big day, all day Friday, Leah and Lindsay, I will be there. I don't know how many. Mark's going to be there. Mark Hancock, also from Point Arena Lighthouse. So many people are going to be coming down here and asking you for your support. So please think about us. Save your pennies, whatever you got, but we need to raise enough money to keep us on through the end of the year. And it really amounts to about $40,000. I know that sounds like a lot, but as much of that as we can raise. We also have several people who have matched that money. So for every $1,000 raised, there are 4 people who will add their 4,000 to that. So that's coming up this week. Otherwise, we are technically unmasked now. I have ambivalent feelings about that. I still carry my mask, and oh darn it, Mark brought me this beautiful mask, and it matches my outfit, which is what I wore today, and I didn't bring it in the studio. See, Mark, somewhere Mark stopped by.
You can hear me.
I can hear you. I can hear you. I can see. Mark stopped by early this morning. And
Peggy, you're totally discombobulated. I absolutely love it. I love it.
Wasn't I organized earlier this morning?
This is Peggy Unmasked.
This morning you stopped by. It's your fault. You stopped by too early. You did it. He just totally discombobulated me. Hey, and Mark, I posted that picture already on my own page, Peggy Berryhill's page. Oh. There is this weird, huge hole in the ground that I don't know, maybe some animal slept in, or Mark thinks maybe somebody made it for a cache and came back, stashed something there and came back for it. But it's this huge hole. It's what, about 4 feet long?
About 4 feet. Well, I think we're actually burying all the KGUAWriters submissions that are so personal. It's our ritual. Yeah, it's this weird hole. So, just a little recap of the morning. I mean, I ran and then I stopped by Peggy and she's barely opening the door and she says, "Come here, take a photograph, take a photograph." I'm saying, "Of what?" That. Of what? That. And next I know I'm standing on this hill on the bank, pointing to this hole that, oh, wow, what is that? So I think it's that UFO sighting we're all hearing about.
Okay, you're right,
Enough.
but just go to Peggy Berry. He'll go to Facebook and you'll see Mark standing very perplexed, looking to this big old hole in the ground. I don't know what it was. So here we are, KGUA Writers this morning. It's foggy, it's cold. Supposedly the sun is going to show up Friday. I don't
Friday.
know. We'll find out. So Mark is back in person from the East Coast.
Yep.
He looks very relaxed. Before he left, I think he was kind of full of anxiety, but now he's all relaxed. So you happy to be home?
I'm really happy to be home. I'm really happy to be home. And I'm happy for so many things. What I left behind, what I visited, what I come back to, what I live in, and we'll talk more about that. And it's going to be a good show. I don't want to jinx it, but it's going to be a terrific show. I want to thank all the KGUA writers. Peggy and I have been talking over the past couple of days, weeks, about the depth and the leaps we've taken into our writing. And it came to me that we've been masked and we've kept all our feelings inside and we've shared them. And the writing is just spectacular. And thank you for everyone and how each one is resonating. And I just have to cite once again Lori Young, who with the Wizard of Oz said, if we could only take one brick at a time and build the yellow brick road of our world, it would be unified. And I keep on thinking of that, just one brick at a time. So thank you again, Lori Young, from a few weeks ago. And that resonated. And you'll hear many things today from folks that have written. And warning, we're not going to let you rest. Now that you're getting a little bit deeper and diving in, we're going deeper, guys and gals and thems and he's and hers. And we're going deeper because we want to do it and we're ready. So thank you, everyone.
All right. So what was
announcements? A
Sure,
couple
go ahead.
announcements for the show. And then are you ready? You have anything else?
I'm ready now.
Okay, so a couple of things about Exit 55. It's an exciting show. We have a special
Exit
guest
55?
component. What's that?
You said Exit 55?
Exit 55. I'm still on the road.
Okay, all right, just being clear.
We're on Exit 55. No, episode 55. Thank you, Peggy. We have a special guest component. I want to thank all the special guests from Corporeal Writing. Corporeal Writing was founded by Lydia Yuknovich, the author, and Domi Shoemaker. It is made up of over 400 writers who have studied under Lydia and the awesome team at Corporeal Writing in Portland. I'm proud to be part of them. We always keep our passion for each other and for our writing center stage. Much of what I have learned and what drives me has roots in Corporeal Writing and all these folks. And a big shout out to Lydia for so much more than just her vision, and Domi for their endless energy and spirit, and kicks in our butts to keep writing through and believing in each other. More can be found at corporealwriting.org, but this is what drives me, and I share that. So throughout this show this week, we'll have little snippets to the response from members of the Corporeal Writing team around the country. And then I have another acknowledgement I'll do before my piece, and we're ready to go. So what do you think, Peggy? I'm going to start with one since I have a few of these.
Don't you like the way this works? He says, so what do you think, Peggy? And then he says,
Peggy,
okay, I'm going to start.
Yeah, Peggy, what do you think? Go ahead.
He says, go ahead and let me do what I'm doing. Go ahead.
And let me do what we're doing. That's right. So my first guest is Shannon Brazil from Portland. And she says, in response to our prompt, when faced with my parents' mortality and my own mortality at the same time, in an instant, a lifetime of grievances, little and big, washed away, leaving me jittered with fear. Yes, but also with this unbridled love for my parents and my siblings. Love that runs out of me in rivers of tears and words that my mouth was never brave enough to say until now. I love you. I was afraid I'd never see you again. I'm so glad you're still here. Thank you for all that you've done for me. Thank you for loving me. And when I see you again, I will hug you forever.
I think that's And there's an agreement there. Let's go to episode 1 here. Well said. Well said. I think he could have written a lot of that for me too. Some of those were my thoughts as well, as so many of us have been. Those of us who have partners have been more or less locked up together for a year, no matter how long you've been together.
That's
It's
right.
always a challenge, a new challenge. And so there's been a lot of that.
Well, you know,
All right.
something came to me, Peggy. We always call, and it came to me just a couple of days ago, shelter in place, right? That's the term. But we've been sheltered at home. And that has a little bit of a different meaning, sheltered in home. And, you know, it's an interesting thing if you change place to home. And I think that's what's happening. I love what Dave said about a tourist of new ideas. And, you know, you and I have talked about Billy and Susan, our, you know, partners, and we're blessed because we've been together, right? And
They put up with us.
We know each other's mishigas, as my grandmother would say. You know, we know each other's shtick, and we've endured. And it's a lot about what my piece was today. So thank you, Dave. And what you got, Peg?
You know, you talk about sheltering in place. That's that big hole across the street.
Somebody's sheltered in there, and I love it. I love it. We could still put a little sign, ISIP'd here, and have put flowers out there for whoever did that. Could have been a raven.
Exactly. Anonymous girl. This past 18 months has taught me many things, that I am of an age to start taking gardening very seriously, that I am an introverted extrovert, or is it an extroverted introvert? But the honest comfort came in the recognition that my anxiety has company. The thing that I spent so much time trying to hide from the world, the thing that I thought made me different, alien, is the tether that connected the whole of humanity. A sort of global anxiety. It was brutally comforting.
Brutally comforting. I love it. Laura Rank from Corporeal Writing in Bellingham, Washington said, I don't need to see people in person to feel connected to them. Thanks, Laura. I love that.
All right. Who is this one? This is another Lori. Hi, Mark and Peggy. It's still hard for me to believe you really want to get these email notes on top of all the other incoming writing in your mailboxes. I've learned that you are sincerely finding connection with and fun in our KGUA writing times. And since I find that too, it's getting easier to believe. Fond wishes, Lori. And here is Lori from Desert Springs. A year and a half sounds like forever, and it sounds like a drop in the bucket. Time has not been a stable commodity. I started in a guilty gush of ecstatic joy. It was my first experience of 100% acceptance in the world, a world where I was no longer required to enter nor participate. I was uniquely suited to shunning close contact with my fellow humans. I have all the human contact a girl could want or need at home. Sorry, girls, but I got the good husband. You might have one too, but I got the really good one. He lets me do my own thing in the quiet space that lets me thrive and be happy to be alive. Yet we're always here for each other. I learned that it's hard to create a perfect life or a perfect balance of me and we. A good balance is doable and worth doing. When the shutdown came, I decided it would be like a Mercury retrograde. Only it lasted longer than the usual 3 weeks of upside down appointment timing, confused communications, missed connections. It can be a time of learning about symbolism, connecting dots and archetypes and dreams and colors, ideas, feelings, movement, energy on paper and in the air. I've been working hard at this for 18 months and of course, hardly working. Taught myself some banjo chords and we've been playing music. A new tune, a new time. I haven't changed much, but the world may be different. We'll be finding out over the next 18 months, traveling north and south and in between. Time is surely an illusion, but it's fun to pretend.
I haven't changed much, but the world is different. And it goes back to her original note in the email. It's getting easier to believe. You know, I was listening to What's On Before You, Peggy, Democracy Now!
Mm-hmm.
KQ. I was listening to something this morning on the way back, and they were talking about contactless BART, right? BART is going contactless. And I just saw the word contactless. And, you know, you and I have chatted about this before. We've changed the way we communicate with people for the past 15 years, right? You know, we don't talk to people as much as we did. We use devices, we use chats, you know, the growing demographics are communicating not in person, right? Not face to face. We've talked about that. And when I heard the word contactless, we're starting to ease out on touching. No handshakes, you know, we're dropping that a little bit. No contact, body, physical contact. And I wonder what meetings will look like in the future when we try to work for peace or unity without having the ability to speak face to face, or the ease in speaking face to face and the ease of shaking a hand. How will negotiations and warmth and authenticity communicate with each other in a room? And it just made me think about that when I heard the term contactless today.
You know, that brings up so many thoughts, and I'll just briefly, I said I didn't write something, I wrote something.
Oh, good. That's because I was going to put you on the spot, because if you haven't learned anything this year, I give up.
So what have I learned? As a journalist, I'm always learning new things. I welcome this ability to open my mind to embrace and indulging my curiosity, seeking truths. But who knew that we humans on this blue orb revolving around the sun would all be learning about something new and dangerous to our species at the same time? I believe being raised in a tribal manner, you learn early on the importance of honoring the tribe and not the individual. I love that about being Indian. I can accept and embrace that herd immunity makes sense. Simply put, It's the community that matters. Only this time, it's global. I also learned the deep sorrow of losing my older brother to COVID. I learned the pain of not being able to be with him, knowing his hand was held by an aide, not family, as he passed. We haven't had a ceremony, been able to go to the cemetery yet. I've learned that ceremonies do matter to humans. I've also learned that I'm a hugger. I didn't know that. It's so exciting now to be able to throw out my arms and welcome a dear friend who has been vaccinated. That's my brief foray into things I've learned.
You know, Peggy, that's beautiful. What you said is honoring the tribe and not the individual. And you are a hugger, and maybe you're learning how to be more comfortable in giving a hug. But when you hug someone, there is a warmth that is very rare. Maybe that's your internal native spirit. But when I hug you, I always feel a warmth. So maybe you're starting to embrace the hugs back. And I didn't
That's
want to.
probably it.
I didn't want to. I'm going to keep referring back to prompt number 56 for next week because it seems to be resonating in everything that we're saying now. And I'm going to save it for the end. But one of the prompts I want you to start thinking about is what Peggy said, you know, not family when her brother passed and hugging. And part of the prompt next week is reaching out to someone you have lost touch with, either intentionally or not, or you're thinking of for some reason. And we'll talk more about that. But as we hear these pieces, there's a passage in every one of them that refers to that. And my friends, it's time to write about it.
So Mark, tell people what we're listening to.
We're listening to KGUA FM 88.3 on your dial in Wallala, who needs $40,000 to keep on saying that. So there we go.
So there we go. And we're listening to KGUAWriters with Mark Gross, Peggy Berryhill, and all of our wonderful writers. And I just love all of this. Everyone in the humanness and all of these feelings, I think, are resonating with everyone. If one person doesn't write it or say it, another person does it. I mean, we're filling in all of these blanks.
And how many years have you and I been saying we write for someone else who doesn't say it? You know, and we do it.
I don't know.
Another glorious, wonderful note from our corporeal writing friend in Portland, Wayne Scott. Are you ready, Peggy?
I'm ready.
This is what I learned. One dessert a day is rarely enough. Thanks, Wayne.
All right. Well, let's go to, I think this is Sheila Shapiro.
that eventually lost touch. I think the angels who watched the movie was true. Those were times when I needed someone to ground me, but not control. I learned how to make some positive decisions in my lifestyle, involving in the practice of being trusted with such a special job. What I reached out to is people that are here and remember the people that are. Somehow, it was raining. I realized that I was sort of lost. What is a touch? What is a touch? After being days and lives of only trust the time and distance are less than the dimensions. You're a captain of the nurse. That I will look at the word of the path. This word of the path.
Wow, I absolutely love that one.
You know,
Go ahead, Mark.
it's I'm writing notes. Sheila, from a selfish young girl to an unconditional older woman, from Barry, reaching out to people while you can, after it's too late when you cannot. It, you know, the episodes, just the prompts roll into each other because, as I said earlier, we're just rolling deeper into our own thoughts. And the beauty of that is, I have to say, I didn't really know this. I didn't think about it. I remember when Barry wrote that poem. That's how long I know Barry. And to hear him read it again and to know what he's gone through. When he wrote that poem, his parents were alive and all that. And, you know, and now to read it, and my parents were alive and now they're not. And the poem lives. So this is all a theme for next week. So thanks, Barry. Sheila's was actually a make good that is relevant to this week. So thank you. And Sheila and Jim are in Hawaii. So shout out for this coming from Hawaii.
All right. Well, you know, I loved his equation of distance and time, and the equation of the dimensions of the heart, because it really is what has been going on to a large degree this year.
It's amazing.
It has.
It's
Hey,
well, what's coming out now, literally coming out unmasked. It's only beginning. I want to read Carol Horwith, Fishback, another corporeal writing from Vancouver, Washington. She says, I've learned that sometimes I don't have to venture out into the world for new adventures. The world can and will bring all its gloriousness to me. That's simple.
Interesting. I like that. And who was it was writing earlier about all of the Dave Stoloff, I think, all the Zoom webinars, all the things that have been going. There's been, if so much to learn and so little time.
The tourist of ideas. The tourist
yeah.
of ideas.
Yeah, tourist of ideas. I
So you're
love
not
that.
the only one and me that screw up Zoom. That's great. Okay, what you got? Should I read or what do we got?
Yeah, you should read.
Let's see. Don't yell at me for the ruffling of the papers. Let's see. All right, I'm going to pick one out and say this came in really late last night. It's not Good Morning Budapest, but it's fairly close by to Budapest. So, hello, Czech Republic. And Lucas writes, hi, Mark, I will start from the end. I learned that I have to take things seriously, even if they seem to be far, far away, like COVID. At the beginning, it was far out of our country. Later, it was far from our village. And later still, far from my family. I took it easy because no danger for me and my family. But it came to us, all of us, and to me too. And now I take it seriously. Luckily, we are all healthy, but others didn't have such luck. On the other way, I am much stronger and fit after COVID. Wow. Thank you, Lucas. And thank you for bringing your far away into our studio and ours into your hearts, because we're all together with this.
Absolutely. Do you have Budapest too?
I do. And moving across the border, and I have to go back to what my friend Levin said, they can go really quickly and understand another culture, another skin color, no matter what tone, another way of doing things, another set of rules. They can take a train ride and do that. And they respect each other for their own place. And as my friend Levin said, who's from Brussels, we live in one country and we can't go around the corner without judgment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that really resonated, which we'll talk about later. So thank you, Lucas.
Yep.
Thank you, Aniko, and thank you for all being in our studio. So good morning.
Good morning, Budapest.
Good morning, Aniko. During the enforced rest, I tried a lot of things I didn't have time for before. For example, I painted the bathrooms. I think I'm pretty lousy as a painter. I never had time to teach the dog tricks. Now we took part in a 56-day, 56 tricks challenge. We did it all with honor. The essence of the trick is not the result, the circus stunt, but the learning process itself as we learn to communicate with each other. Here we go, Peggy, communicate with each other. Two-leggeds or four-leggeds. I can take a complex task into its parts and teach it patiently while we are talking about our own emerging language. I really enjoyed working together. Because of my joint problems, I have a long plan to modify my diet. I finally found the proper diet for myself, the Flexitarian Diet, which is a style of eating that encourages mostly plant-based foods while allowing meat and other animal products in moderation. I tried many new recipes and varied ingredients. Since I love not only cooking and eating, but also taking photos, I shared photos and recipes of my new dishes on Facebook, and my acquaintances also enthusiastically tried the new dishes. Since I lost my job, I submitted my application to approximately 70 places. I became an advanced interviewer. I was in a total of 7 interviews, all different: telephone, online, doubles, panel, group, multi-round stress. My conclusions: nowadays, those are past 50 are not welcome on the labor market. It is common custom today not to announce the salary, but to ask the candidate how much he or she wants, which is not very fair considering that 200 people apply for one job and salaries fell by 30% and prices rose by just that much. Even with a higher educational level, women can earn on average less than men do. That's not very fair either. It's hard for everyone to adapt to the current situation because something has changed forever and we don't know the scenario. We don't know where we are heading. What worries me the most is the future of my children. But I realized that if I can live in peace with myself and my thoughts, which is not very simple, I can also communicate better with those around me. Here in the KGUAWriters community, we can think together about interesting topics. I am constantly learning to express my thoughts and pay attention to others. And Aniko, you are a beautiful and welcome addition to our community across the world and in our hearts and in our studio. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Annika. And you said so much that that there's so many truths to apparently women all over the globe. All of that. And I also loved talking about your communication with your dogs and spending this time working with them. We have one of our newer dog, Jada. She's a talker. And some days, and she kind of like Chewbacca. And some days she'll come and stand next to you and she's having some sort of conversation. I just follow along as much as I can, but she speaks in sentences. I don't know what's going on in her head, but there's this, cadence, and it goes on and on and on. And then she'll stop and look at you, and then she'll pick up again and go, who knows where, but it's so interesting. I have a friend who is psychic and talks to animals, and I want to know what Jada's saying.
It's funny, Peggy, as as everybody knows, I did 6,200 miles with my dog. He didn't talk so much. I think it's because I didn't stop. Can you imagine that? He didn't say a word. And yet, there was never silence in the car. I got to think about that. Anyway, another note from Charlotte DeCanter Chung in Florida, one of our Corporeal Writers guests. Despite my outgoing, extroverted personality, I have loved the silences of being alone.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that awesome?
That's wonderful. It is. Oh, and I loved those birds in Barry's piece, and those of you who have been back east, you must have experienced some of that in Alexandria. I remember the birds in Tacoma Park.
The robins all over the place, and the dogwoods, not birds, but the dogwoods and the cherry blossoms and the foliage and all that. But the bird, just the sounds and the smells were so remarkably different. And then when I came back, they were remarkably different. So sometimes you have to step outside and hear something that we hear every day, but we don't hear. And, that's awesome. Like hearing myself talk to the dog all the time. I also love Aniko, 56 tricks, 70 interviews, all her use of numbers in so many things. That is really something how we're thinking these days.
And how she was interviewed by individuals and by panels, and
isn't that something?
On Zoom.
It goes back to what we were saying this morning. What is the future going to look like? We're only coming out of shelter in place. We're not coming out of a new world. We're not going in, so. Okay, what you got, Peggy?
I have Hannah Rothamel, halfway to June. Thank you, Hal Borland in York, Maine. Hey, and a big shout out, I think, if they're listening, to Scott and Tree, who made it to Maine yesterday. You guys may have crossed somewhere as you were traveling. Okay, what has this pandemic taught me? How I love to write. How writing has become even more important to me since my speaking voice has eluded me since January 2002 due to spasmodic dysphonia. How ultra important dear friends and family are to me. That I don't want my best party to be at my funeral. That I need a deadline when and so I write a word limit, but also that I don't write my best in a rush. That I see the world not as it is so much as how I am. I believe the credit for this quote goes to Anais Nin. Is that okay? That I've learned so much, but have so much yet to learn. Thank you, KGUA, for all you have taught and continue to teach me. Thank you, Mark and Peggy. With love and appreciation, Hannah in Maine. Thank you, Hannah in Maine.
And a special shout out to Hannah, because Hannah sent me a note on Friday saying, I'm not going to write this week. I'm not going to contribute. And I said, why? You should. I'll give you till tomorrow. And then the next day she says, I'm writing notes. And on Sunday I said, okay, I'm waiting. And she wrote, and I love it. I love when she did that. Let's see. I've got, what do we got? Leah Bear. Leah Bear used to write for us, Peggy. She's from Portland as well.
Oh,
I've
yeah.
learned that the lyrics to We Shall Overcome are more than ever today. They mean more. I've learned that the fight and the need for getting in good trouble is never over. I've learned our numbers and growing and we will never give up. I've learned that artists really do have the power to change the world. And they did it last year. Thanks, Leah.
You know, Annette, I think there is a lot of that waiting to exhale that happened after January
To exhale.
27th.
And we exhaled in
Yeah.
a mask. I mean, there's so much now. There's
Mhm.
so much now. We're only beginning to get these thoughts out. So
Mhm.
I think KGUA Writers, while we're on episode 55 or 56, is really taking a turn into braving the new world together.
Hey, speaking of braving the new world, let's hear what Mary Mogert has to say.
Yes, Mary, thank you in advance.
Thank you so much, Mary Mogert, and I am so happy you are getting the recognition you deserve and sharing your thoughts with all of us pretty much weekly. We look forward to them. I don't think it's just Mark and I think you have a whole cadre of people, listeners, waiting to hear what you have to share with us. And, you know, Mark and I, not to pat ourselves on the back so much, but we're so happy for this program and what it is doing for people.
I think the word is rewarded or humbled, Peggy. It's
Humbled.
Mary, what you have taught me personally goes way beyond your words. And Peggy, you know what I noticed today with Mary's piece? And I only know Mary through her writing, right? I think I've met Mary in person maybe once, maybe. Did you hear how soft and beautiful her voice was today?
Yeah.
Mary, you're a gift. Thank you. I have one last note from corporeal writing pal, Linda Beth Euclid, who used to write for us as well, and hopefully she'll come back. She's in San Francisco. All of humanity's problems stem from man's ability to sit quietly in a room alone. Pascal. I learned how to sit quietly in a room alone, and I love it. Awesome. Thank you, all my corporeal writers, special guests today. You always add something thoughtful and loving. Peggy, we've got another written. I've got my written, which we'll save till the end, and we have one more audio. So
I have two written and one more audio,
you have two written? Okay.
I believe. Oh, no, you're right. You're right.
So I know you like to read this writer because we like this writer a lot.
We do. I was going to say I
love her art.
read this writer all the time, but if you wanted to read it, it's up to you.
No, go right ahead. You have. I like when you read.
Okay. Sue Miller, Santa Rosa. What have I learned about myself during this pandemic? People are so important to me. Not being able to touch or be touched made this time extra difficult. Not sharing meals with friends and family was hard. I live alone and found ways to eat outside with friends. I learned to appreciate how much it meant to me to break bread with other beings once a week. Not much was happening, and I discovered KGUAWriters from Mark. Hearing other people's writing and my writing has become something I really look forward to every week. It's so cool. I wish I could see all your faces. Diversity and racial justice has become important in this past year. I attended a book club on racial injustice, took Zoom classes on diversity. I feel the more I learn, I need to learn more to be a better ally for racial justice. Taking early morning walks in nature, watching for special birds, flowers, trees has increased my love of nature. I love to smell the plants, flowers, and trees, adding another dimension to being outside. Most of all, I learned to be resourceful and learned I was resilient to get through these months. Reading books, movies, podcasts, Zoom classes on meditation, Pilates, personal training, and attending spiritual services helped me survive. I learned about my strengths and my weaknesses. That is how I made it through. And she has a little photo. You can't see it. It's trees. I'm not sure what kind of trees, possibly redwoods. And she has a comment that says, "Love it. Beautiful. Wow."
Love it. Beautiful. Wow. Every one of you, every word you have chosen. Peggy, you want to play set 5, Mr. Rothamel?
Here we go. I love his
I love it.
enthusiasm, his
I love it.
cheerfulness, and
I just love this whole group. I'm going to we have one more set of recordings and one more reading, correct? And I want to talk about the prompt for next week. So I'm going to leave my reading for last for time. And I'm going to talk. You want to play the next recording? It's a double set.
okay. All right, I will do that. It says episode 6. That's
That's set 6 I just sent you.
Okay.
And then we'll get those in and
Good.
then we'll talk about the prompt.
All right.
First is the one that over there, over the things that come with this place, conscious order, and open up on the year 220 to I really did it. And my historical knowledge of textbooks is updated. I have the I have divided it sensationalist. And that I've probably been negatively fixated on this. Don't get me wrong. We have to make us for ourselves. And we'll continue to have the best in our schools and health. But it has also given us an opportunity to gain self-respect for the kids. I truly we've got a long way to go. As I'm approaching in my 60s, I feel well confident. Yet I appreciate all the real changes that have come throughout my 6 decades. Life really is completely all we want to support, and that's what we need to focus on. Good news and gradual improvements. And because there's a better surveillance, we have more access to that. So journalists, activists, and politicians are also humans. They also suffer from themselves. And everyone else, they should regularly check how they feel. It is important to acknowledge that while research is international, the world is interested in including. This is not to say that but some interesting facts from 2017 and before show that 60% of the finished primary schools. The majority of the world's people live in middle-income countries. In the past 20 years, extreme poverty almost halved. 80% of the people have access to electricity. 80% of the people have been vaccinated against some disease. And these are only some of the remaining facts. In realizing these positive things, I see the positive. And we're able to promote, help you act inside and outside myself. Evidence, saving, and calling to take responsibility to find out more about the politics conditions. We can reflect on how our parents, grandparents, and great-grandparents who live on the planet and know that relatively speaking, this has indeed occurred worldwide. Post-pandemic, our ship won't turn on the back. But its crisis appears as specific and row the ship for war.
Sheila Shapiro sending us a positive
you.
message. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila. Welcome from Hawaii. We're running out of time a little bit. I want to talk about next week's prompt. I'll save my piece for next week and one other one. We're getting deeper, and it's important that we start to get in touch with this. So I want you to think about this prompt. I'm unmasked outside and thinking of you. And write to that prompt. I'm unmasked outside and thinking of you. Now, there's an additional part to this. Our friends at the Ayurvedics at Sweet Life Bakery have offered to host an outdoor get-together if you want to write the prompt outside, unmasked, and thinking of folks. Now, that doesn't preclude from the normal way we do it, which we will, but on Thursday at 2:00, we are invited to Sweet Life. Bring a lawn chair, a blanket, pen, paper, device, and we're going to write a response to that prompt together. You don't have to wait till then. You can come on the spot. We'll remind you. But the prompt is, I'm unmasked outside and thinking of you. And I want you to all think back, maybe re-listen today at 1 o'clock, about everybody saying things about, I wish I could say goodbye to somebody in person. Don't wait for too long. I'm thinking all that. I'm unmasked outside and thinking of you. And also Thursday, 2 p.m. at Sweet Life Bakery in Wallala with our dear friends, Jen and Victor and Ocean and Vic, Patrick, everyone. And stay tuned for more on that. That's what I got.
Wow, this is KGUAWriters is becoming a community
Outdoor
phenomenon.
prompt fest.
Outdoor
The
prompt
guerrilla prompt writing from, stay tuned for next week's location.
fest. Oh my gosh, the Gorilla Girls have nothing on us.
That's right.
So, all right, thank you all of you KGUAWriters, and
Thanks,
yes,
Corporeal
it's time
Writing
to go.
family. Thanks, writers, everyone.
And it is time to go. Thank you so much, and we'll get this ready for replay at 1 o'clock. We have to get ready and go to where are we going, Mark? We're going to go to Albuquerque,
Native America
Mexico.
calling.
There you go, Native
Thanks,
America. Okay, Mark. Bye.
Bye.
KGUA